to Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here's your host, Cody Manning.
And welcome into the Friday edition of Cody Talks NFL. Hope you guys have been having a great week. It's Friday. Your weekend's going to begin. So hopefully I can get you guys some great information going into this weekend's games. And you guys can have a great weekend and watch some amazing games on Sunday. I'm going to go ahead and dive into my news section. I'm going to start off with some trades that happened since the Monday show. I know Monday I went over a bunch of rumors. Well, it turns out it was a lot of rumors. The trade deadline was kind of a deadline. Nothing really much happened as I anticipated, as I was led to believe that could happen. While it was kind of a disappointment, especially when names like Jamal Adams was getting floated around right before the trade deadline. Keep in mind, this year has, since the beginning of the regular season, no other NFL season has had this many trades happen within a season. So it's still an active trade. The NFL is still being active with their trades. It's just that when it was leading up to the deadline, they just didn't know how to squeeze in a deal right before the 4 o'clock time hit. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the trades and give my quick opinions on the ones that did happen since the Monday episode. Leonard Williams, defensive tackle from the Jets, did get traded to the Giants. Giants got Williams. The Jets got a 2020 third-round pick, and then they got a 2021 conditional fifth-round pick that can turn into a fourth-round pick if he signs with the Giants. I like this move from the Jets side because obviously they had no plan of re-signing Leonard Williams. So they get rid of a player, and instead of waiting on a compensatory pick, they would have gotten 2021. They go ahead and get that third-round 2020 pick, and then they get that additional fourth-round pick. A little confused on the Giants front because I thought they already had kind of a decent group of defensive tackles, but obviously Leonard Williams, that will give them a veteran presence because they had to have a young group there up front. There's more of a rotational piece. It sounds like they have a plan for him. They actually do want to re-sign him. So I can understand it, I guess, and we'll see if it does benefit the Giants defense, but I think they did have some holes elsewhere that maybe they could have traded that draft capital for. But we'll see if that move does pay off for them. Another move that happened, this is kind of like under the radar. Jannard Avery from the Browns got traded to the Eagles. He's a defensive lineman, defensive edge rusher. He's kind of been – some people were really high on him into the draft process. He's kind of been a little bit of a disappointment. Has been a healthy scratch, I believe, for most games for Cleveland. He got traded to Philadelphia for a 2021 fourth-round pick. Not that much compensation. It's actually 2 years. They won't even see that draft pick, the Browns. So, I mean, I guess I understand the move for the Eagles. They want to see if they can start generating more pass rush to help out their weaker secondary. So I do understand that move. And then lastly, Aqib Talib got traded to the Dolphins. Actually, Aqib Talib and a 2020 fifth-round pick got traded to the Dolphins. In return, the Rams got a 2022 seventh-round pick. So basically, they traded away for nothing. But it does save them $4.2 million in cap space to help extend Ramsey. So that definitely does make sense on the money end. Talib is on IR. They must know that he probably won't be returning from his IR injury. So it's highly doubtful he even suits up for the Dolphins this year. There's some also understanding that he has a really great relationship with Brian Flores. So I know it's floated out there that it's potential like Talib might retire after this season and join the Dolphins coaching staff as well. So Talib might be retiring anyway. So this was just all about saving cap space. And I believe this will help him maybe even become a free agent in the offseason as well. I understand the move. You know, Miami's getting an extra draft pick that they can use for to help rebuild that much-needed help on that roster. And the Rams need the cap space to help extend Ramsey. And obviously, they don't have to leave in their future plans, so why not go ahead and get rid of them? And then going ahead into a big piece of news that came out since the Monday episode is the Cincinnati Bengals. Looks like they potentially will be moving on from Andy Dalton. They did go ahead and bench him. He is going to the bench, so he's got he has 1 year left on his contract with zero dead money. So I have a feeling he probably won't be on the team next year. Ryan Finley, the rookie they drafted in I believe the fourth round, will get the start. Some people are high on Finley. He actually looked pretty good in preseason. I know I talked about it on the Fantasy Football Hot Seat this week that came out on Wednesday, but I thought personally he would look right behind Daniel Jones as far as the rookie quarterbacks as one of the better performers in the preseason. So we'll see. He's kind of got a weak arm, but I mean, I guess I understand this move from Cincinnati's front because they're 0-8. They're going nowhere this season. Andy Dalton's got 1 year on his contract. Andy Dalton's not going to get any better. So obviously they need to see what they have in Finley now because they're going to have either more than likely the first or number 2 overall draft pick. So if they want to use that pick on a quarterback, let's see what they got in Finley. And if they have something in Finley, then maybe they don't have to use that pick on a quarterback, and they can maybe get an amazing edge rusher like Chase Young or something like that. So I understand that, but Andy Dalton is upset about it. He actually came out and said that he doesn't agree with Zach Taylor's decision to bench him, and he actually wished it would have happened well before the trade deadline. So as he and his agent could evaluate the landscape for quarterback needy teams. So if there was one thing I did not like how the Bengals handled this situation in the trade deadline was it's like obviously they see they need to start planning for the future, and if you are, then why not trade an Andy Dalton or an AJ Green? It just makes no sense. It's like you can't be on both sides of the fence. It's either you're all in on building for the future, or you're all in on you think Andy Dalton's the guy, AJ Green's going to come back, and you're going to try to rebuild this and come back next year with a stronger roster. I don't know what they're trying to do, so it's a little confusing on what's Cincinnati's front office is thinking right now. And my third piece of news before I dive into recapping last night's game, this is kind of a touchy subject, kind of like the Colicchio Assembly thing. Trent Williams, like I mentioned, he reported to the Texans. I'm not Texans. You think he would have if he that's another story. But Trent Williams reported to the Redskins, but he did not pass his physical, and they say he had discomfort with his helmet. Now, Trent Williams came out yesterday, and he told reporters that he has a cancerous tumor on his head, and it was first discovered in 2013. He said team doctors told him it was minor, and when he asked if he had any trust in the organization, he said he had no trust at all. Bill Callahan, the interim head coach, said they were looking into a custom helmet for Williams. And then last night, those Redskins put out a statement. It said, the Redskins have requested for the NFL Management Council to convene a joint committee with the NFLPA to review the medical records and the medical care given to Trent Williams. We have requested this under review underneath the CBA that provides for an independent third-party review of any NFL player's medical care. The Redskins continue to prioritize the health and well-being of our players. Due to healthcare and privacy regulations, we are unable to comment further at this time. We look forward to the joint committee's results. So obviously the Redskins understand, like, they probably deeply messed up on this situation, and this could just cause such a bad look on their organization. I'm going to take Trent Williams' side on this, barring like any new information that makes the Redskins look good in this situation, but I don't believe they do. This is a Dan Snyder organization. It's from top to bottom. There's so many questions about how the Washington is being ran right now. So I feel bad for Trent Williams. Obviously, I wouldn't trust anybody if I found out I had cancer and the team was telling me it was minor. I don't understand why they held on to him at the trade deadline. Why did they not just get rid of him? They knew this was going to come down to this. Now it even makes their franchise look even uglier in this situation for the fact that they held on to him, despite the fact that he was very adamant he has no plans whatsoever to wear the Redskins uniform again. Don't understand what they were thinking there, but I hope Williams is okay with his cancer situation and he can get to a new team next year and ball out, because I don't expect him to suit up for the Redskins at all for the rest of this year. I'm going to go ahead and recap, though, last night's game. Ended up being a pretty good one. The 49ers squeezed out a win, 28-25. Cardinals came out hot. I got to give credit to Kenyon Drake. If anybody's listeners of Fantasy Football Hot Seat, I kind of was like, there's no way Drake's going to do anything against that Niners defense on a short week. Well, he kind of balled out and actually makes the Dolphins coaching staff look incompetent that they weren't able to use him within their offense, especially considering they need all the help they could get. But yeah, Kyler Murray made some great plays last night. You could tell this Cardinals team is growing this year, but they just have too many holes to fill. Patrick Peterson also kind of like looked like he's lost a step. He was kind of getting ate up alive by the 49ers receivers all night. But yeah, I like what I saw from Kyler Murray last night. He was making some big time throws to try to give his team a chance to win. Cliff Kingsbury, he did have some growing pains he learned last night with that decision to call the timeout, which ended up giving the 49ers a touchdown on the very next play right before halftime. And then his decision to try to challenge that play at the end of the fourth quarter, which cost his team the timeout and end up leading to his team never getting the ball back to have a chance to either tie or go win the game. As far as the 49ers front, the 49ers, they won the game. There was nothing like overly impressive about it. Defense gave up some big plays yesterday, but it is a divisional matchup, so I'm not trying to read into that too much. Jimmy Garoppolo did play a good game, but I'm also not trying to read that into too much because this is the Cardinals defense, the same defense that let Kyle Allen, toss over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns as well earlier in the year. But he was making some impressive throws last night to me, so I want to give him credit for that. But the 49ers did not leave this unscathed. Quan Alexander, one of their big free agent signings from this offseason, did leave with a chest injury last night. Kyle Shanahan said after the game he does fear it's a pec injury, and he will be having an MRI today. So at some point today, even if you're probably listening to this right now, that news might have already been released, but we'll find out if his season will be done. If it's a torn pec, we'll find out if it's a minor injury. Maybe they can get him back for the playoffs. But 49ers do go to 8-0. Like what they're really took care of their first half of the schedule. See what they could do as the second half schedule gets a lot tougher for them. And when they face the Seahawks here next week on Monday night, I'm gonna go ahead and keep on going on with the show, and I'm going to talk about the bye teams really quick. With the Bengals, they're on a bye outside the Andy Dalton bench, and they're also having kind of I don't know. It seems like there's something brewing there between them and AJ Green as well. The report came out that the Bengals and AJ Green aren't close on contract talks. The things can change, but the two sides remain far apart. AJ Green does not want the Bengals to franchise tag him in this offseason. He actually came out and said Wednesday he's not into a one-year deal. He says give him a long-term deal or just let him go. So that's going to be something to monitor when we get towards the offseason. I don't understand why they would want to franchise tag what I think he will be a 31-year-old wide receiver. That doesn't make any sense from a management aspect. And if you franchise tag him with him already saying this at this point of the season, like he'll probably hold out. So that just seems like it will get to an ugly situation. Again, like Andy Dalton, I don't understand what the Bengals are doing, and they should have tried to trade it. AJ Green for some draft capital if they don't plan on re-signing him to a long-term deal. Other bye teams, the Falcons and Rams, there's no news to report on them. So just stay tuned to see if there's any update on my Monday episode for the Falcons or Rams. And then a report came out. The report came out this week. I really don't know if it was a real report, if you got the right report, because I think anybody could have made this estimated guess. Several team officials believe that Teddy Bridgewater could receive a $20 million to $30 million yearly as a free agent, which should be a surprise. Like, for example, Jacoby Brissett, his next year on his deal, that extension he signed on before the season, he'll be getting paid like I think it's a number between like 20 to 21 million next year. So that's going to be like the baseline for I don't know what you want to call them, like solid backups that have the potential to be a quality starters in this league money. So it should be a surprise at what Teddy can get. So the Saints are going to have a pretty interesting decision to make when it comes in the offseason, because they'll have to decide if they want to either bring on Teddy and just roll with him next year, or sign Drew Brees to another 1 to 2 year contract extension and roll with him, and then let Teddy go to another team. I think the best bet for the Saints is they just hope that they win the Super Bowl this year. Drew Brees rides out into the sunset, and then they can just give Teddy the money to be their new franchise quarterback as Brees goes into retirement. So that's something to monitor as we do go into the offseason. I'm going to go ahead and dive into my game previews for Sunday. Now, the first game I'm going to talk about is the London game. Now, this is in London. Now, this is a early start, so it's going to be 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And just a reminder to people, it is daylight savings time this weekend. So it is fall. So if anybody knows how it works, it's fall back. So we all do get to gain an hour of sleep. So, but do remember, your clocks will be changing overnight between Saturday to Sunday. But yeah, the Houston is facing Jacksonville in London. That's a 9:30 a.m. Eastern start time. No major news as far as injuries with the Texans. The team did announce yesterday that Will Fuller, Deshaun Gibson, Lonnie Johnson, Greg Max, and Bradley Roby did not travel with the team. Laramie Tunsil has been limited this week with a shoulder injury. On the Jaguars front, DJ Hayden hasn't practiced with a neck and shoulder. Leon Jacobs hasn't practiced with a hamstring. Quincy Williams hasn't practiced with a hamstring. Andrew Norwell hasn't practiced with a calf. They're actually pretty banged up. The following players were limited in practice so far this week. Calais Campbell with a back injury. Josh Lambo with a groin. DJ Chark with a quad. Najee Good with a toe. And D.D. Westbrook with a neck and shoulder injury. And Gerard Wilson with a knee injury. This game's going to be hard to predict, like I always say about the London games. They're weird. Teams can be jet lagged. They can be a slow start. Typically, you're going to see a low-scoring affair in these matchups. This is not only it's a London game, which makes things weird, it is a divisional game, which makes things weird. I think the Texans missing J.J. Watt's going to hurt. That's going to allow the Jaguars to, use Leonard Fournette in the run game. That's going to easily allow open lanes for Gardner Minshew to make some passes. I do think this is going to be a pretty close game. I think it's going to come down to a field goal. But I am going to take the guy that's playing at an MVP type level, Deshaun Watson. I think he will the Texans to find a way to win this game, but it's going to be a close effort. I think they win by a field goal. It's going to be like a 21-18, 24-21 type win for the Texans, but I am going to take Houston in this one. And I'm going to go ahead and dive into all the games that start at the 1 p.m. Eastern time slot. Chicago is traveling out to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. There is no major news on either team. As far as injuries heading into the matchup, there were no notable names on the Bears injury report. As far as notable names on the Eagles report, Nigel Bradham still has not practiced with his knee injury, as well as Jason Peters and his knee injury. Brandon Brooks was out of practice because of an illness. And then Deshaun Jackson is practicing. He's been limited. I haven't heard if he's for sure back yet this week. Tim Jernigan is finally getting back to practice, so he's limited. Darren Sproles is getting back to practice with his quadricep. He was limited this week. And then Andre Sendejo was limited with his abdomen. So Eagles are getting healthy. They can get some help, get those players back to their team. That's going to help them try to go on a second half run and make that push for the playoffs. As far as how I think this game is going to go, it is Philadelphia. They're at home coming off a big, impressive win in Buffalo where they stomped the Bills down. The Bears are just kind of unraveling at the moment. Mitchell Trubisky has completely regressed. Matt Nagy's arguing with the media. The defense seems to be broken because they just know their offense cannot help them win games. So I think the Philadelphia walk. I think the Eagles, with them being at home, just kind of have a day and kind of walk all over them. I really don't see the Bears being in this one because the Eagles, if there's a weak point of the Eagles, it's their secondary, and I don't know if I trust Mitchell Trubisky to take advantage of that. So I think they're going to be able to get after Trubisky, get in his face, get sacks, force turnovers, and I think the Eagles end up winning by at least a touchdown in this game. They won 7+ points. I really don't see the Bears winning, and it seems like all those playoff hopes and even Super Bowl hopes that some of those Bears fans had prior to the season have quickly washed away as we head into the second half. We'll go ahead and get into the next game. The Indianapolis Colts are traveling to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. There is no major one news article with it's a health thing. But for the Steelers, their rookie running back, Benny Snell, he is out the next 2 to 3 weeks after getting knee surgery, but Jalen Samuels is set to return. So it just seems like their running backs have been all types of banged up this year. As far as injuries for both teams, with the Colts front, T.Y. Hilton yesterday did not practice with a calf injury. He was limited on Wednesday. He's also a guy, though, that I've seen have DNPs all week long and then showed up next week. But let's see if he is able to practice today and see if he will be able to go against the Steelers. Pierre Desir has not practiced with a hamstring injury. Eric Ebron was a DNP yesterday with his ankle. Quentin Nelson was limited with a hip and neck injury. Malik Hooker has been limited with a knee injury, and Justin Houston has been limited with a calf injury. On the Steelers front, James Conner has not practiced this week with a shoulder injury, but he did say, I believe on Tuesday on a radio show, that he expects himself to be a game-time decision. So that's something to monitor, see if he's able to get some reps into practice today, and see if they even see what his official status is heading into the matchup. And then Ramon Foster has not practiced with his concussion because he has a concussion. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I know the Colts, as a Colts fan, they've lost like 5 straight games to the Steelers. I know they typically struggle with the Steelers, but that was also because it was Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown lighting up the Colts defense every time they faced off against each other. I'm not the biggest believer in Mason Rudolph. If anybody decided to tune into that game Monday night, he had a pretty rough night. He was throwing interceptions to the Dolphins players. Colts got a lot better defense than the Dolphins. Even if T.Y. Hilton misses this game, I don't expect the Colts to miss a beat. If anybody's been paying attention to that team this year, they've had periods of time where they even did miss T.Y. for a game. They missed Darius Leonard for a set of games. Malik Hooker and the team did not miss a beat. They definitely are one of those teams that got the next man up mentality underneath Frank Reich. I think they go in and they handle business, especially if James Conner's out. They can really just focus on making sure Juju's not the guy that beats them, and then just get some pressure on Rudolph and force him into mistakes. I think because it is in Pittsburgh, maybe because the Colts have only won or lost games of 7 points or less, it's probably going to be closer than I would like as a Colts fan. I think though the Colts do win, they win and end up winning by between 4 to 7 points. Like they'll win like 24-20, 27-20 type win for the Colts. I'm going to go into the next game is the Jets are traveling down to Miami to face the Dolphins. As far as news and everything, with the Jets front, Blake Cashman, their rookie linebacker, actually suffered a torn labrum and fractured shoulder, so he's done for the season. As far as injuries for the other team, for everybody else, the Jets are, man, they have no luck. I mean, I don't know if they're trying to tank worse than the Dolphins with how their season's gone. But Josh Bellamy has not practiced with a foot and shoulder injury. Neville Hewitt has not practiced with a neck and knee injury. Tremaine Johnson hasn't practiced with an ankle injury. Ryan Khalil has not practiced with a knee and elbow injury. C.J. Mosley has not practiced with a groin injury. And then the following players were limited. Kind of interesting because there's a lot of drama going on between Jamal Adams and the Jets, but I'm not going to feed into that too much until the offseason, even though he will probably be a candidate to be on a new team in 2020. But Jamal Adams was limited with a foot injury. Henry Anderson was limited with a shoulder injury. Chris Herndon was limited with a hamstring. Steve McLennan was limited with a hamstring. And then Demaryius Thomas with a hamstring and ankle, and Brian Winters with a shoulder and knee. On the Dolphins front, Ken Webster has not practiced with an ankle injury. Rashad Jones has been limited with a chest. Daniel Kilgore has been limited with a chest. Bobby McCain limited with a shoulder, and Albert Wilson with an ankle and hip injury has been limited. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I'm not gonna lie, it's a divisional matchup. The Jets got a lot of drama surrounding since the trade deadline. A lot of those guys are, especially Jamal Adams, really upset that he was involved with the trade talks. I don't know, man. Like everything says how the Dolphins are playing this year, the Jets should win. I am going to pick the Jets because I think I think Sam Darnold. I think this is a game we see a Le'Veon Bell type of game as well. So I'm going to take the Jets. I don't feel confident in it, but I think they win by 3. I think it's going to be like a 21-17 type win for the Jets. But if you told me the Dolphins won, I would not be surprised too. because that's just how the type of season the Jets are having. But I am going to take the Jets in a close, ugly game. I'm going to go ahead and get to the next matchup. Minnesota is traveling to Kansas City to face the Chiefs. Vikings are relatively healthy, as well as healthy as you could want your team right now. Adam Thielen, he was limited with a hamstring injury, so he looks like he may be returning this week. It's something we'll take a note as we head into Sunday. As far as the Chiefs front, they're pretty banged up still. Frank Clark has not practiced with a neck injury. Eric Fisher has not practiced with a groin injury. Alex Okafor has not practiced with an ankle injury. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, believe that's how you say it. Has not practiced with his ankle injury. Patrick Mahomes has been limited this week with his knee injury, but it sounds like there's been no reports like he's pushing to play this week. The report last week, like I mentioned on the Monday episode, is he is likely to return against the Titans. He needs time to make sure that's healed so they can make that final push for the playoffs. They got the AFC West pretty much, I want to say, wrapped up by now. So there's no reason to rush him back other than trying to push for a first-round bye, which, I get, but this Vikings defense is really great. And the last thing you want to do is put a immobile, because he'll probably be immobile. He'll probably be very limited in his mobility when he returns against a pretty stout Vikings defense that has a great pass rush when your line is already banged up as well. So it makes no sense why you don't hear these reports like, oh, Mahomes might play this week. It's actually been pretty quiet on that front. And then also Bashad Breeland has been limited with a shoulder injury, Dustin Colquitt with a thigh injury, and Kendall Fuller with a thumb injury. And since Patrick Mahomes isn't playing, I totally expect the Vikings to win this game. I know the Chiefs played the Packers very tough last week, but I think the Vikings are actually going to go in there and handle their business. I think they're going to find ways to force Matt Moore into turning the ball over. And I think, honestly, the Vikings end up winning by 7 to 10 points in this game. I think their defense is going to be flying over the place, forcing turnovers, getting sacks, and then their offense should be able to move the ball pretty well against the KC defense that has been a lot worse than expected heading into the year, especially when guys like Frank Clark and Alex Okafor will more than likely not be playing. So Dalvin Cook is probably set to have a great afternoon, as well as Kirk Cousins. So I'm taking the Vikings by 7 to 10 points in this matchup. My next game, Tennessee is traveling to Carolina to face the Panthers. No news on the Titans front, but I got a couple notes on the Panthers front. This is pretty interesting. I found yesterday when I was doing my research for my script. According to the Rock Hill Herald, the Carolina Panthers have a deal in place to purchase the Waterford Golf Club in Rock Hill, South Carolina. It will be about 4 miles from the team's new headquarters that will be opening up in 2022. The report is the deal is reportedly pending and a purchase price was not made public. And then the CEO, Mark Hart, said, anything that we do, we're going to try to improve over its current state. It's already a great asset. It's a great course. It's a great layout. But perhaps if we can do something in conjunction with the development on the new headquarters site and make something that's got a Panthers brand or something that's even better for the community, I think that's something we're looking forward to trying to. I just found that pretty interesting because as teams progress, they're going to want the best facilities. The number one thing they can sell. It's interesting from a business standpoint because, what would they use that golf course for? It sounds like from that quote they would leave it open to the public, but maybe if you're a season pass member, you can go play on the golf course, once a week for free as part of your season package. That's for me thinking from a business aspect. And it would be kind of cool, to see a headquarters, and the headquarters also is part of a golf course. So what teams are going to do whatever they can to help sell their team to potential free agents. So if that free agent likes to golf, I'm sure the players are allowed to golf on that golf course. But that's 3 years from now. That happened to come up when I was doing my research on news for every team last night, and I just thought I'd pass that along. And then another note on the Panthers, this actually came out this morning before I hopped on to record. Cam Newton, it sounds like he probably won't be back anytime soon. He's actually heading out to Green Bay to visit Dr. Robert Anderson. He's one of the more famous doctors that work on players from all sports. His sprained foot is not getting any better. He hasn't done more than just rehab on the side of this field. And he's going to visit Dr. Anderson to learn why his condition isn't improving. And the report is playing football is a long way off. If I would read into anything on that report, it does sound like I don't expect. I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't know if Cam Newton plays for the rest of the season. I believe it was like a Liz Frank injury. If the original report was right, that's kind of a hard injury to battle back from. It's part of his game is running and using his feet. Um, I don't know. I mean, if the Panthers got a chance to make the playoffs at the end of the year, maybe. But at that point, if they got a chance to make the playoffs, I know it gives. I said earlier this week, I believe Cam Newton gives them the best chance to win more games. But feels like if the Panthers are like 4 weeks from now still in the playoff hunt, that means Kyle Allen's maybe even grown as a quarterback. So I don't know. That's too much to say. I'm just going to say, but I would not be surprised if we don't see Cam Newton again until 2020, and it's up in the air if he's even in a Panthers uniform in 2020. But to go ahead and talk about other injuries heading into the matchup, Jarrell Casey has not practiced for the Titans with a shoulder injury. Ben Jones has not practiced with a concussion. Delaney Walker has not practiced with his ankle injury. Harold Landry's been limited with a shoulder injury, and A.J. Brown has been limited with a groin injury. And then outside Cam Newton on the Panthers, Greg Little has yet to return to practice with his concussion. And Gerald McCoy has been limited with his knee injury, and Shaq Thompson has been limited with his ankle injury. As far as how I think this game is going to go, I think this will be a close defensive battle. I think their teams are you're going to see very great defensive play, and then you're going to see some type of explosion plays from guys like Christian McCaffrey every once in a while. I'm going to take the Panthers because they are at home. I also think I also understand the Titans are a team where they're going to win these last two games, where people are thinking, the Titans, they're going to be good with Ryan Tannehill, but don't forget, you can make an argument that they should have lost to Chargers and they should have lost to the Bucks. Just a couple plays that somehow went their way. So I'm going to take the Panthers in this one. I think they're going to rebound after getting embarrassed by the 49ers last week. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to have a heyday. But like I said, I think it's going to be a close, low-scoring defensive matchup. I'm going to take the Panthers to win like a 17-13, 17-14 type win. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair in Carolina. But I think the Panthers do find a way to walk out with a win. Next game, Washington is traveling out to Buffalo to face the Bills. No major news came out on those games. On those teams. But as far as injuries heading into it, Monte Nicholson has not practiced with an ankle injury. Adrian Peterson hasn't practiced with an ankle injury. Chris Thompson hasn't practiced with a toe injury. And then Case Keenum has been limited with a concussion. I believe he has not yet cleared protocol. Also, the reports are Dwayne Haskins has been taking majority of the first team reps this week. So don't be surprised if today it gets announced that Dwayne Haskins will be the starter and get his first career NFL start. And then Vernon Davis has been limited with a concussion. On the Bills front, Cody Ford has been limited with an elbow, and Levi Wallace has been limited with a shoulder. As far as how this game is going to go, if you guys are a longtime listener, have been listening to my show all season, I think the Redskins are pretty much trash. Big fan of the Bills, but they got embarrassed at home against the Eagles last week. So this is one of those games where they can bounce back, get back on the right track. I'm sure they're going to take out all their anger on the Redskins. If Dwayne Haskins starts, and if Dwayne Haskins played like he did in his limited action that we've seen this year, this has tons of turnover potential for the Bills defense. But I'm more looking for this game, the offense. I want to see more of a complete game out of that offense, because if the Bills want to do anything this in the playoffs, because they got a pretty easy schedule, they should be able to get into the playoffs by the end of the year. But if they want to do anything when they get to the playoffs, they got to get that offense worked out. This is a perfect type of game to work out the kinks in the offense, not commit any turnovers. So I do think the Bills are going to handle their business. And since they are at home, and if Dwayne Haskins does get that start on the road in Buffalo with that defense, give me the Bills all day. I think the Bills should win by 10-plus points in this game. I'm going to go ahead and get into the afternoon games. I believe we got, 4 afternoon games that'll be on the slate for everybody. A little piece of news. I'm going to start with the Tampa Bay going out to Seattle, face the Seahawks. A little injury news on the Seahawks. Tedrick Thompson, their starting safety from this year, he's going to head to IR with a torn labrum. Pete Carroll actually told reporters that he's actually been playing with that through that injury since last year. Apparently, he's just gotten to the point where he can't play with it anymore. So he's going to go ahead and get surgery on it, and he's headed to IR. His season is done. As far as the injury report, O.J. Howard has yet to practice yet with his hamstring injury. Looks like he may be on track to miss another game. Cameron Brate has been limited with the ribs injury. Alex Kappa did return to practice with his broken forearm. He's been limited. And DeMar Dawson's been limited with a hamstring injury. Quandre Diggs on the Seahawks front, he has not practiced with a hamstring injury. And then Dwayne Brown was limited with a bicep and knee injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I mean, it's in Seattle. They're at home. We saw the 49ers win, so the pressure's on. Like, if Seattle wants a chance to win this division and they got an upcoming matchup with the 49ers the next week, they got to win this game. So I think they're going to pull out everything it takes to win this game. I mean, I do expect maybe the Buck. Underneath Bruce Arians, I won't ever be surprised if like the Bucks are always in competition to win games, even against some pretty quality good teams like the Seahawks. But I think the Seahawks find a way to win. I do have an odd feeling this is going to be a pretty close game because I do not trust the Seahawks pass defense. And while Jameis Winston does make costly mistakes at times, he still has one of the best wide receiver duos in the league that can take advantage of the weak secondary of the Seahawks. So I think Jameis Winston could have a good day and put his team in position to win this game. But I think Seattle finds a way to win. But I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I'm going to say Seattle wins 31-27, 31-28. I think it's going to be a pretty good game, though. Don't be surprised if the Bucks have a chance to win this at the end of the game. I'm going to go ahead and get to the next game. Lions are traveling out to the Raiders, out to Oakland to face the Raiders. No news on either team as far as injuries heading into the matchup. On the Lions front, Tracy Walker has not practiced with a knee injury. Damon Harrison, or Snacks Harrison, if you want to go by that. He was a DNP with his groin injury. Graham Glasgow has been limited with a back injury. Mike Daniels limited with a foot injury. Darius Slay limited with a hamstring injury. And Trey, I don't know how you want to say it. Trey Carson's been limited with a hamstring injury. On the Raiders front, Dwayne Harris, he did not practice with a foot injury. Rodney Hudson has not practiced with his ankle injury. Josh Jacobs has been limited with a shoulder injury. Tahir Whitehead has been limited with a wrist and shoulder injury, and then PJ Hall has been limited with a shoulder injury. As far as how I think this game is going to go, I'm not sure. I think it's going to be a close game. Lions have been playing pretty well. The Raiders have been playing pretty well. One thing I actually did not put in my script, I just recalled from watching Good Morning Football this morning, is I guess Matthew Stafford has been sick since the game on Sunday. But he told reporters he should be fine and good to go. He wasn't even listed on the injury report, so I don't anticipate him missing. I know like the report this morning was like his status could be in jeopardy, but he should be playing. I think this is going to be a really good game. It's going to be pretty close. I am going to take the Raiders, though, because they are at home. This is actually the Raiders' first game in Oakland since September. And if anybody knows, they're going to Vegas next year. So they got, I wish I had the schedule up in front of me, but I want to say they have like probably 3 or 4 games left in Oakland before their time is over. So I expect a crazy crowd in Oakland. I think the Raiders find a way to win. I think the injury to Kerryon Johnson and them not addressing that position for the Lions is going to hurt them in the long run for the season. So I think Oakland wins. I'm going to say by a field goal. It's going to be a close matchup. I could see this going either other way, but I think Oakland wins like a 24-21 type win. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions win that way. But I'm gonna take the Raiders because it's their first game in Oakland since September, and I think they might have a home field advantage. And my boy Rob didn't update me. I just saw the Raiders actually have 5 more home games. So maybe if they can win this one, they can maybe go on and try to use that last little time in Oakland to try to make a push for that wild card spot, or maybe even the AFC West if the Chiefs drop some games and they can put some games together before Mahomes returns. So that will be something to monitor. But I do got the Raiders winning this game. I'm gonna go ahead and get into the next matchup. It will be Green Bay is traveling out to the Chargers. To LA to face the Chargers, which doesn't mean much. Green Bay travels well, so it'll probably basically be a home game in LA for Green Bay. As far as news, no news on either team. With the injury front, on the Packers side, Devontae Adams is practicing. He's been limited with a toe injury. It does sound like he is potentially returning this Sunday. Brian Beloga has been limited with a finger injury. Jimmy Graham with his ankle has been limited. Aaron Jones has been limited with a shoulder injury. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has been limited with an ankle and knee injury. Danny Vitale has been limited with a knee injury, and Tramon Williams with a knee injury. On the Chargers front, Brandon Mebane has not practiced with a knee injury. Roderick Teamer has not practiced with a groin injury, and then Justin Jones has been limited with a shoulder injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I got an odd feeling about this game because everything tells me the Packers should win this game by like 7+ points. They're the way better team. They got something going for them. Aaron Rodgers is heating up, playing at an MVP level right now. Everything tells me that they should walk all over the Chargers. They're going to be basically, like I said, playing a home game in LA. But I got this odd feeling the Chargers are like set to have that second half burst and try to make the playoffs. And I feel like we were going to see maybe a classic Phillip Rivers type game. I feel like Melvin Gordon's finally getting shaken off that rust, and he's going to have a solid game. I got this odd feeling the Chargers got they're going to sneak off an upset win against Green Bay. But I'm not going to do it. I think Green Bay does find a way to win. They're the better team, and I think that they're going to win by, like I said, I think they should win by 7+ points. But I would not be surprised if the Chargers get the upset because it's just this is kind of like their backs are against the wall from every game from here on out, and we'll see what they have, what it takes. But yeah, I think the Packers end up finding a way to win. And then I'm going to go ahead and talk about the last afternoon game. Cleveland is traveling to Denver to face the Broncos. It did come out that Joe Flacco is more than likely done for the season. He's expected to be sidelined for the next 4 to 6 weeks. He's got a bulging disc in his neck. No surgery is necessary pending those doctor's reviews. But more than likely his season's done. The Broncos are, first of all, if the Broncos are in position to make the playoffs when Flacco can return, that means he doesn't need to come in the lineup because whoever's playing quarterback, whether it's Brandon Allen, whether it's Drew Lock, has led them to wins to be in position to make the playoffs, they're the quarterback. So Joe Flacco is more likely done. And I'm going to be honest, too, he's been hurt. I want to say the last 4 years, something is like this has happened. Like last year, I believe it was a neck injury as well. So it feels like these neck and upper body injuries are continuing to mount up on Joe Flacco. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised when this season's over and Joe Flacco does retire. So he's more likely done. Brandon Allen is getting the start. He's been a journeyman backup quarterback. He was a starter at Arkansas. I actually had a chance to see him play a couple times. I don't know if he's got what it takes to be the guy, but then again, I don't want to say he doesn't because you never know. He could be one of those guys that have been bounced around the league and then he finally gets a chance to get a start and he balls out. But I highly doubt that happens. As far as injuries for the game, Demarius Randall was not for the Browns front. He has not practiced with a hamstring. Odell Beckham has been limited this week with a groin injury, and then Jarvis Landry has been limited with a shoulder injury. Outside Joe Flacco, Broncos are still pretty banged up. Bryce Callahan has yet to practice this year, one of their free agent signings this offseason with a foot injury. Jeff Hireman has not practiced with a knee injury. Jawan James re-aggravated that knee injury, and he's now not practicing. Von Miller has been limited with a knee injury. Todd Davis with a knee and hip injury, and Dalton Reisner has been limited with an ankle injury. As far as this game, though, the Browns better win this game. It's plain and simple. Like this, they better win by 7+ points. If they lose this game to Brandon Allen and the Broncos, like, does Freddie Kitchens even make it out of this game as a head coach? So this is a game that the Browns better win. They better bounce back. Baker needs to put together a game. Can Odell Beckham have a Odell Beckham type game finally, please? This defense with Myles Garrett should easily be able to get after Brandon Allen. The Broncos' offensive line, A, is not good, and B, is now playing with their backup right tackle, and they banged up Dalton Reisner. So, and Garrett Bowles is not that good as a left tackle. So this should be a game. Their defensive front should be able to get after the quarterback, especially a journeyman backup quarterback, and just force him into mistakes and force him into turnovers. And I'll be very disappointed in the Cleveland Browns with this. Yes, I know they have a really bad season. They're sitting there, 2-5. You probably shouldn't talk about a Cleveland Brown. I mean, about a 2-5 team like this, but we all had high expectations for the Browns, and they still got the talent on the roster, so there's no reason why they cannot walk all over this Broncos team. Yes, the Broncos defense is pretty good. They held the Colts down last week, but I think when you get to this point of the season and you're 2-6, defense doesn't play as tight as it did when they still had a potential shot to make a playoff run. So I think the Browns should win by 7+ points, and if they do lose, like I said, does Freddie Kitchens even make it out of this season if they lose to a team, Brandon Allen-led Broncos? And then I'm going to go ahead and get into the Sunday night game. As far as news front, the Patriots do have a couple of news items. It was reported that Josh Gordon was released from the IR. He is actually going through the current waiver wire process, so he is not a free agent. He's going through waiver wires. So if anybody knows how that works, teams, all 31 teams can put a waiver claim on them, but it's based off your order in the waiver claim. So it goes from worst record to best record. So teams like the Dolphins, the Bengals, the Broncos, the Browns even can try to get them back. You know what I'm saying? So teams at the top of the list, which are more than likely going to get them if they put a claim in for them. If I understand the process right, I believe that ends around 4 p.m. Eastern. So by the time you're listening to this or a little after, he could potentially be on a new team. I would assume somebody would I think at least one team puts a waiver claim on him. But if for any reason, if no team puts a waiver claim in on him, he will become a free agent. Then he can choose his team freely. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. It'll be interesting to see if a bottom of the barrel team just takes him just to take him, or if he ends up going to a potential playoff team and can help them make a playoff push. And I will obviously have an update for you on that on Monday's episode as far as his landing spot. The team also designated Isaiah Wynn and N'Keal Harry to come off IR. I think the Wynn return is the biggest return between the two because, yes, the Patriots are undefeated, but their offensive line has been very suspect. They have allowed a lot of pressure for Brady. They haven't really been a consistent offense this year, and Isaiah Wynn has that type of talent to help solidify their offensive line for this final push of the season. Another note, they did cut Mike Nugent, and they signed Nick Folk, so now Nick Folk has a chance to be the Patriots kicker. We'll see if that works out. It seems like Bill Belichick is just going to sign veteran kickers that have experience and see which one he can stick with for the playoffs. I don't think he's ever going to take a chance on a young, unproven player. You probably would like a kicker that has at least seen things in the past and have been in different situations come playoff time. So we'll see if Nick Folk can last to the playoffs, and if he struggles, we'll probably see another kicker get a chance before they get to January. And then as far as injuries for this matchup, on the Patriots front, Rex Burkhead has been limited this week with a foot injury, Patrick Chung with a heel and chest injury, Julian Edelman with a chest and shoulder, Ryan Izzo with a concussion, Matt Lacoste with a knee, and Shaq Mason with the ankle. All of those guys have been limited. On the Ravens front, these guys have been limited as well. Marquise Brown with the ankle injury, Patrick Unawasar with the ankle injury, Jimmy Smith with a knee injury, and then Earl Thomas with a knee injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, it's so hard to say. Baltimore is at home. They have a different style of play, but I got to give credit, man. New England's defense is balling out. Marquise Brown has been limited, so I don't know if he's going to be much of a difference maker to help take off the top of the Patriots defense. I don't know if they really can get the running game going against New England. Bill Belichick is just a genius, so I think he has a way to limit Lamar Jackson. Interesting stat is there has never been a quarterback to go over 100 rushing yards on Bill Belichick's defense. So history and how they're playing, my head says New England. My heart says Baltimore can find a way to pull off this and get the upset and prove to me that the Patriots are not that great. I mean, they're great. I just don't know if I still trust that Patriots offense. I know people want to just crown them, but I think New England wins. But it'll be a close one. I do think the Baltimore gives them a run for their money. I think it will be a finally close matchup for the Patriots, where they actually are tested. I think New England wins 27-24. I think they squeeze out the win. It's just so hard to pick against New England. I'm not going to do it, even though I would not be surprised if Baltimore is the first team to upset the Patriots this week. Then the Monday night matchup, of course, if anybody's been a listener of my show, I don't give my preview until my Monday episode. There's no news on the Giants front, but the Cowboys actually got some news. Michael Bennett, who they traded for, he did restructure his contract in that trade. So now he's actually set to become a free agent in the offseason. And it looks like their Cowboys are doing some disciplinary actions against their some of their players. Their second round pick, Tristan Hill, he not only showed up for a late for a meeting on Tuesday, but he also has gotten some trouble for some of his recent transgressions. He actually fell asleep during a team meeting with NBA Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas. And it was during their bye week, and then apparently Isaiah Thomas called out Tristan Hill when he was sleeping in that. So obviously that's something you don't want to see from your second round pick, especially when you're a team like the Cowboys, when you want your second round picks guys to be contributors, and not only he has not really been much of a contributor, which has probably led to the Michael Bennett trade, but now he's falling asleep and being lazy in meetings. And this is some of the reports that came out around him when he went into the draft process. And a lot of people thought he had first round talent from his athletic ability, but it's because of his character of why he fell to the second round. And then Antoine Woods as well. He was sent home without practicing on Tuesday because he was late for a meeting, and both are subject to a fine. Antoine Woods did put on Twitter that I've been late less than 3 times in the last 9 years of football, college 5 times, NFL 4 times. Y'all can chill. I think maybe what it is probably Jason Garrett. I don't want to say anything because I don't have sources inside the building. There hasn't been much reports, but maybe in the past when the Cowboys have fallen apart in the second half of seasons underneath Jason Garrett, maybe it's because he was lackadaisical with some players, letting players become late to meetings. So who knows? Maybe he's trying to be more stricter on this type of stuff and make sure everybody's focused on the second half. So I applaud him for that. If he, don't let things just go away. Let players know that you're meaning business to go on this playoff run as they come off the bye week next week. So this week. So I don't really buy into there's going to be any locker room trouble, but we'll see. We'll see. And then if there's any update on the Cowboys, of course, I'll have an update on the Monday episode. And then it's time for my producer question. Rob's question today is, after the game against Arizona, are you in the camp that the 49ers are the best team to beat, or is it New Orleans or somebody else, or is it still fully up to grabs? I think it's both, right? I think it's fully up to grabs, but I do think the Saints are the team to beat. I know the record says the 49ers are better, and I do respect records. And if you guys look at my power rankings, my personal power rankings that I release every Tuesday on my Twitter, I still got the 49ers ranked ahead of them. But I still think the Saints are the team to beat because we saw what they did without Drew Brees. We saw what they did without Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, and Jared Cook against the Bears. Lit them up, and that Bears defense, it was at home. And the Superdome is such a tougher place to play because here's the thing. Here's the reason why I say the Saints, because yes, the 49ers are good. Yes, they're going to get their tackles back. They're going to even get healthier and be a better team. I really like what I saw for the 49ers. I know Jimmy played great last night, but I still need that Jimmy game when he's playing against a legit team. Okay. Can he play like he did last night against maybe a team like we'll see next week against the Seahawks? And here's the thing. 49ers have not only a tougher schedule going forward for this next part of the season, but they also still got the Rams in their division. They also still got the Seahawks in their division. The Saints, yeah, they still got the Panthers, but I think they walk away with that division. So I think the Saints have an easier path to the first round seed. To the number 1 seed in the NFC over the 49ers, where the 49ers would have to go to New Orleans. Now, we actually do get a 49ers Saints matchup as well coming on later in the season. That will be very telling. But I also believe that teams like the Packers and Vikings have what it takes to be the clear-cut team in the NFC. I think the whole NFC in general is fully up to grabs. Like, even if you're the number 1 seed heading into the playoffs, I still think the NFC is a type of conference right now where the 6th seed could go on a playoff run and win the conference. So I still think it's up to grabs, while I do also have the understanding I think that the Saints are going to be the team to beat. While I think that with the NFC, the Saints are the team to beat, while anybody can go on a run, basically. And then other than that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Friday's show. I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say today. If you did, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening to this on the Blitzalytics Podcast Network, please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Because this will always hit YouTube before it hits the Blitzalytics Podcast Network. But if you're a listener of it on the YouTube show and you don't have time to pull it up on YouTube, but you want to listen to the audio version as you drive to work or whatever, or as you're working on something this weekend, we're on all major podcast platforms: Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. It's Blitzalytics Podcast Network that not only has the audio version of this show, but it also has shows like the Blitz Breakdown, Pick Six, the XFL Files, which just debuted last week. There will be more shows of that coming in the coming months, and obviously when it's in the XFL season, you'll see more of that. And then, of course, my Fantasy Football Hot Seat with my producer, Rob. Where we talk about everything fantasy. This week, we actually gave midseason awards. So if you guys got time this weekend, go listen to that. We help people with starts and sits and streaming defenses, and Rob helps with trade targets. I help with picking up guys from the waiver wire. So please tune into that as well. And then lastly, if you have anything to give for charity, guys, we have a great charity league, the All Heart Charity League. It has 10 different charities for 10 different teams, and they are all great causes. So if you got anything to give, please go to go.rallyup.com/allheart and pick any charity that you like to give and help us out, guys. We're just trying to raise money for a great cause. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Once again, thank you for tuning in. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I hope your team wins, unless you're Roy Countryman or Ryan Lippert of Blitzalytics. I hope your team doesn't win this weekend. But other than that, have a great weekend, guys, and Blitz out.
Thank you for watching Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. As always, hit that like and subscribe button, and then hit that bell notification icon to stay up to date on all things football.